What is up, people of the world? Mr. Jake91 here, bringing you an in-depth guide on how to be a Smite Guardian. This is my first video in the How to Smite series, and I'm so pumped to be doing this video. I hope to bring some goodness to the table for both the beginner and intermediate players. Now, before we get started, I want to be clear, I'm not sponsored by anyone, nor am I getting paid to do this video. Everything that we're going to cover is information that I've gathered through gameplay and my experience over the last 15 months of playing Smite. So without further ado, let's get started. What is a Guardian? Well, Guardian gods are typically melee range. They utilize magical power to boost the strength of their basic attacks and abilities. Their damage output is going to be fairly low, but they usually have high crowd control and are capable of withstanding more damage than any other class in Smite. Understanding this is going to allow you to protect your teammates and set up favorable combinations that would typically not be possible otherwise. There are currently 11 gods in Smite to choose from, all with different passives, abilities, CC options, but they all have two things in common. They have high defense and high crowd control. If you have not played a Guardian before, go ahead and pause this video, open Smite, and play a quick co-op versus AI with a Guardian of your choosing to give yourself some insight on how much defense a Guardian truly does have. If you have played a Guardian before, go ahead and keep rolling this video.
Uh-oh, Santos inbound. I'm gonna root him if he lands on you. He's dead.
What goals do I need to have as a Guardian?
Told you.
As a Guardian, you have three main goals. Front line of defense, feed your team, and secure objectives. Completing these tasks will greatly increase your chances of victory. In order to achieve these goals, I've created three stances that will help aid you in your gameplay. The first stance is offensive, and we have three steps in this stance: lane aggression and control, prediction plus initiation, plus crowd control equals KS or kill security, and last, ganks. Step 1, lane aggression and control. This is my favorite part of being a Guardian. You're expressing your dominance by locking down any enemies that step foot on your playground. When done correctly, you have gained the ability to control your enemies in your lane. What do I mean by this? When you move forward, they'll move back. When you move back, they'll move forward. It's all up to you. Now, how do you obtain this power? Don't be afraid to jump on them with Bacchus or pull them in with Athena. Put them in a defensive stance and let psychology do all the work for you. They may think their dick is big, but yours is bigger and is going to fuck them if they come anywhere near you. This will give you a huge advantage when coordinating jungle ganks, timing team ultimates, and strategizing to get that kill. Step 2, prediction plus initiation plus crowd control equals kill security. Now, assisting or securing a kill is more than just spraying abilities and praying that the other 60 gods that aren't in your game are going to help you. A lot goes on in this step, and I want to break it down the best that I can to increase your chances of winning these team fights. So the first part is prediction. Before you jump in a fight, you need to have a good idea of how the enemy is going to react to your initiation. This includes their movement, their ability rotations. Do they have ultimates? Do they not have ultimates? Have they used their relics already? Where's the rest of the enemy team at? Are they around the corner getting ready to gank you, or are they actually in their lane? And where are the enemy minions? I know this sounds stupid, but I've had a situation where I actually blinked into a bunch of minions, and these freaking minions circled me, and I could not get out, and I got wiped out and ended up losing a game because of that. So yeah, make sure you know where the minions are at, okay? Next part is your initiation. How are you going to get into this fight with taking as little damage as possible? Now, a blink is a great relic to get you in, but it's not going to be available every single time you need to initiate. There are times where you've got to initiate several times, and it's not going to work with a blink every single time. So I've got 4 other alternatives that you can take outside of a blink. Option 1, which of your abilities is going to get you into the door? Do you have a Ymir where you can freeze something that's right in front of you? You can just walk up and freeze something and then go around them and get yourself in that door. Can you leave the lane and go to the side and gank them from the jungle, or go all the way around and actually come behind them and put your CC down and get an initiation that way? Are other teammates close enough to help you get into the door? Do you have somebody sitting on the side jungle that's going to pop in for you that the enemy's not going to see? They're going to initiate, which is going to make it easier for you to initiate because they're no longer looking at you. They're not focusing on you anymore. It gets you in that door real quick. And last approach that I'll take is if the enemy is playing very, very defensive, Can your ADC CC them to help you get in, such as like Neith can throw her root, and that can make it a little bit easier for you to get in the door. Figure out what tools you have to create a great initiation and to get you to your target. Also, just a quick tip, make sure that you're targeting the right enemy. You have identified the right target. You don't necessarily want to be targeting their support, because that support already has a really high defense just as you do, and they've got crowd control to be able to counter your crowd control, so it's just going to negate it, and now you're stuck in the midst of them for them to attack you and put the damage on you. So make sure that you're targeting the right target. ADCs and mages and squishy people is definitely a lot better of a target option than supports, so just keep them. And then finally, we've got some crowd control. Now this is where it gets fun. Once you're breathing down the neck of your target, you're going to bring the pain on them. Now, depending on what enemy god you have, you're going to have some different CCs. Ymir has a freeze, Bacchus has a stun after he burps, Athena has spears that shoot out and pull enemies in. So they all have their own different type of crowd control, and you need to figure out what that crowd control is and effectively use it on them, keeping them still, keeping them in your face so that your ADC can come up or your mage can come up and start putting the damage on them, or whatever it may be. So put that crowd control on. Note that you need to know when to get out as well. If you're getting pelted, or maybe they countered you and then ended up stunning you, unless you've got a little bit higher level and you can take the damage and you've kind of got another plan outside of that, or you're like in that situation in my video, we had that Shibalanke that actually ulted and puts a CC on the enemy for me, so there was really not a huge reason for me to get out of that fight because they would have been CC'd anyway. So, kind of depending on what's going on in the game, just remember to know and retreat. You've got a lot of defense, but you can still die. Our last step of the offensive stance is going to be ganks. Now, a gank is whenever you cut the enemy off or take them by surprise. They're not anticipating your presence, and you typically want to do this whenever they have abilities that are on cooldowns and ults that are on cooldowns, so that you can get those kills fairly easily, or help your team get those kills. Now, there's a ton of different times that you can actually gank. I always do it when I come back from the fountain. I think that's a great time whenever you've gotten buffs, whenever your ADC or mage has gotten back from the fountain, or before they come back from the fountain, trade places with them and do a gank there. Even going behind the enemy tower is always really fun. So keep in mind with ganks that you want to be sure that you have a plan with them, and that you also understand your god before you start ganking. Because if you're just now starting out with that guardian, ganking is probably not the best idea, because you're not 100% sure how to get yourself in and get yourself out, nor do you know the amount of damage that you can take before you're going to die. So keep the ganking, I would say, to a minimum at first until you get good with that guardian. Then go for it. It's what makes this game so fun is the ganking, and I think that guardians don't gank as much as they should. You can see in this clip that we've been watching, I actually ganked the mid lane because it was actually a defensive gank versus an offensive gank, and it annoyed the team so bad that they actually ended up surrendering. But you can see in that video, or in that gameplay, I tried to save that Zeus and I couldn't, but I went in from a defensive stance and ultimately turned on an aggressive stance where the enemy actually tried to gank us, and I went straight aggression and made it happen for the team there. So ganking, make sure you know your god first, and make sure you know if abilities are on cooldowns. Use that prediction a little bit. So that's all I have in the offensive stance. I'm going to have all this information down in the description that you guys can kind of look at. And now we're going to move on to some defensive things that you can do. Our second stance is a defensive stance, and we've got 3 steps in this defensive stance: body blocking, countering the enemy, and letting enemies kill themselves. Now, in a defensive stance, you are no longer the aggressor, but that doesn't mean you aren't in control. All abilities have cooldowns, and sometimes the best offense is a great defense. Mastering the defensive stance will keep you and your team alive and limit the possibility of the enemy progressing. So, step 1, body blocking. When an enemy initiates on your teammate, get right up in their grill, separating your partner from the attacker. You're right in the middle. It's like a sandwich. They're the bread and you're the filling. You like that one? You'll take most of the damage here, but nothing compared to what your ally is going to take. This will give you an easy transition back into an offensive state because, again, you're right up in their grill. So that's body blocking. Also, things like ults, like these freaking ult, you can get right up on somebody and that ult will hit you and not kill that enemy god that Neith hit. So try and body block those ults and body block those attacks for people. Countering the enemy. This is also a really easy way to transition back into an offensive role. But countering the enemy would be, say I'm in lane with a Bacchus and an Athena, and I'm playing as an Athena. Whenever Bacchus goes to burp on me, right before his burp ends, I can actually hit those spears that pull him in, and it will counter his stun. I actually won't get stunned. He'll just get pulled into me. So kind of play with that a little bit and start figuring out what things can you do to counter the enemy and to stop them from doing what they're doing. If you are going into a game, say you're playing a Conquest as a Guardian and you in that game 0-9 with 2 assists, more than likely there was something that's killing you all the time. It probably wasn't different gods killing you the whole game. It was more than likely your one lane and that one particular god or that combination that killed you the entire game, and they got fed because of that. So you need to figure out what is it that they're doing that's killing you and what can you do to counter what they're doing. Okay, it's also a really easy way to go back into an offensive stance because maybe they unloaded their entire kit on you, you countered with one ability, and now you can jump back in the fight. So great way to get back into that offense. And then last we have let the enemy kill themselves. What I mean by this is people are stupid. They think that they can jump in the towers and take you out, and they come to find out maybe you're not as easy to take out as they thought. So if an enemy is coming in on you in a tower, don't instantly assume that you need to just run away. Try and stay in that tower, especially if that tower is targeting that enemy. Or better yet, if you have half health, I would even say let the enemy hit you on purpose so that tower can start hitting them and then run, then bounce away or dash away or whatever. Stay inside the tower so that the enemy will chase you inside the tower, but let them kill themselves. Don't. That's part of being in a defense. Sometimes I'll even see enemies that will just take one step on my tower whenever they're pushing in my lane, and the tower will hit them, and it's killed them plenty of times. So let them kill themselves. Let them push on you and take away all their abilities. And if you're playing in a defensive stance and body blocking and countering them, they're going to take some pretty good damage from your ADC and your mage. And by the time they get up to your tower, all you have to do is turn back around to that offensive, and they're going to be done. So that's the only 3 steps I have in a defensive stance, and actually we're going to move on to our next stance, which is playing as a support. Moving right along here to the support role, this is about what you can do to make the game smoother for you and your allies and increase your chances of winning. You need to take good care of your team, and there's a few ways we can do that. First one is warding. We have objective securing, stealing camps, relic use, and team fight strategizer. First one, warding. If you do not know how to ward, stay subscribed to my channel. I'm going to put out a video about warding. It's just all about warding. However, there's tons of videos out there already about warding, so I'm sure you could find one real quick. But it is your role and your job as a support to buy wards. Okay? I've tried making this clear in a bunch of different games, but it is 100% the Guardian's role to buy wards. With that being said, I think that your teammate should also buy wards. However, you always buy them. Okay? They're 50 gold a piece. It's not going to kill you. Buy them. It will save your life. It will save your teammate's life. That is the goal. Next, we've got objective securing. You've got Gold Flurry and you've got Fire Giant. You need to tank these suckers. It is not your teammate's job to tank either one of these, especially when they're a lower level. They're going to die. You need to tank the Fire Giant and the Gold Fury for them. Now, while you're just smacking that sucker around because you're a Guardian, you don't do that much damage, you need to have a ward down there and checking out to see if the enemy's trying to come in and steal, and fending them off if they do, or alerting your team that they're coming. That's your job while they're actually killing it and you're doing nothing but slapping your big stick around. You need to be watching for the enemy team. Next up, we've got stealing camps. Ward the camps if possible. You don't absolutely have to, but watch the camps, and whenever they pop back up, see if you can go in there with your ADC if they're backed or whatever, and steal those camps. Take away their resources. This will help you catch back up if they're ahead of you in levels, or for them to not be able to catch back up if you're ahead in levels, is by taking away their resources. So steal camps if possible. You can also buy a Wrath to help take out these camps a little bit easier, but make sure that that's a good choice at that time, because the Wrath can be a bad choice in certain situations. So next thing we're going to talk about is relic use. Buy the right relic for you and your team. If you have a bunch of junglers that have a bunch of speed, sprint probably isn't the best option. I would think more of a curse might be a better option, because they can catch up to them already quick enough. Curse would be a great option in that situation. Or maybe you just want to be able to slow that enemy a little bit easier. You can buy a curse. So buy the right relic. This isn't as big of a deal, but as a support, I think sometimes in certain situations, like, hey, this relic is going to help me. Obviously, with Ares, you're going to buy Blink, so you can blink in an ult. That's a given. That's going to help you. It's going to help your team. It's going to make things so much easier. So keep that in mind, and kind of play with some different relics and see what you like and what helps and what doesn't help. So don't be afraid to use different relics, but also try and find the right one for that given situation that you might be in with the enemy team. So last, as a support, you need to be a team fight strategizer. There's a guy that I play a lot of arena with. I'm not going to say his name on here, but he is just ridiculous about calling stuff out. We'll be on curse, and maybe he's playing as a Khepri, and he goes and he roots the Khepri, or roots somebody, and grabs him, starts pulling him in, and the entire time he's yelling the god's name. Maybe he got a Nox. The entire time all you hear is him yelling Nox, 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 and none of us are anywhere near him usually at that time. But it's the fact that he's a leader, okay? He leads his team. He's calling that out so that everybody knows who to focus and what he's doing. It makes the game go by so much easier, and it's just annihilation for us because he's leading that team. You need to do the same thing, especially in bigger team fights when you get later on in the game and it's 4v4 or 5v5 or whatever it may be. You need to be able to communicate with your team effectively and tell them, hey, here's who I'm focusing, or hey guys, who do we need to focus, so that when I initiate, we're all attacking the same person. We're all not attacking 4 different people, and they're only attacking one of us, and they're taking one of us out at a time, and then they all have half health. We only have 2 people with full health, and they've got more CC and more. You've got to lead your team. Okay? Make sure you're communicating correctly. The voice guided system, I like it. I prefer that people get mics, but obviously if you don't have one, VGS, learn it, understand VGS as much as you can. If you are a Guardian, again, buy curse, use curse, get yourself a mic, but ultimately you're the leader. And lastly, we're going to go over some things on what you should not do as a Guardian. Don't waste your mana on minions. Your team needs you. Don't be spending all of it on minions, and then you can't aggressively attack the team, nor can you defend your team. All you can do is body block at that point, which doesn't really do a whole lot of damage to the other team. So don't waste your mana on minions. Let your team get those minions and get that additional gold and experience. Don't take kills that would otherwise be secured by any other player. So if you have a situation where you're mirroring, you froze somebody and they have nothing left of health, and you could just literally tap them once and they would die, but you've got your Thanatos and it's flying over from the jungle and you know he's about to jump on that person, don't kill him. It's a waste of that Thanatos' ult. Plus, he needs to feed. Your goal is to feed your team. If you're taking all their kills, they're not going to be able to get them. With that being said, you also want to make sure that you take the kills that you need, okay? If the kill is running away, you know it's going to get away, and this is the one opportunity that you guys have to get that kill, take it. But if you 100% know that your team can handle it, then step back. Don't ever go in alone without some kind of reward. I've seen this happen a lot where people will just jump into a bunch of enemies. They don't do anything. They don't CC. They don't do anything literally at all. And then they try and walk out, and it doesn't work out so well for them. Their team's 5 miles away and can't get up to them. So don't go in without a reward. Play that defensive stance until you have predicted a good situation for you before you initiate. And last, do not take any buffs. There's no need for a Guardian to have any buff. A damage buff, speed buff, mana buff. There's no need for a Guardian to have any of those. Leave those for your team. Outside of that, hopefully this helped just one single person out in the world get a little bit better at Guardian. If you guys liked the video, please hit the like button at the bottom. You're welcome to subscribe to me. I'm going to be doing more videos on how-tos and some other stuff that I've got going on. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, feel free to shoot them at me. This is Mr. Jake. Everybody have a nice day. God bless, and we'll talk to y'all later.